OODA is observe, orient, decide, and act. Observe, orient, decide, and act. If I can keep you from getting to the fourth step, I will win almost every time. And this has been proven over and over again in exercise after exercise and live air combat after live air combat. When you think about the problem set of the first responders who are by nature wired to go in, who are trained, and trained, how do we get them, as Randall shared and Eric at the table back here, how do we get them so trained with so much muscle memory, right, that even when their higher order processors have started to fail on them because of the intensity of the event that they're in, that they have the muscle memory to respond correctly under high stress? How do you do that? How do you simulate that, real life, without putting them at risk and causing the training deaths that we heard about earlier, right? Interestingly, race car drivers, when they hook them all up and they electro-analyze them while they're driving at 200 miles an hour, what they find is a lot of those guys, especially the older guys that have been doing it for a long, long time, are calmer and more relaxed, inches away from another car going 200 miles an hour, than they are driving in Atlanta. And I would submit to you that one is because they have gone through the exercise so many times, and there's a higher level of predictability on a track with other cars, even though they're going really, really fast, than there is in Atlanta, right, on our 285 roadway here. And so just kind of pulling that, hold that for a second, because we also talked a little bit about, now you can use virtual reality, augmented reality, you can use some training tools that are very interesting, right? Because you can start to simulate that experience and create that brain memory, that deep brain memory, let's call it, right? In a way that you can't without being at risk, really. But you can certainly simulate it. You can fire off all the chemical reactions because your brain doesn't understand in virtual reality it's not reality, and it starts to physiologically affect you in a powerful way. So this is really good training, and it starts to build that basis of here's how I could respond differently while I'm at a peak stress point or lives are on the line. Technology is also very interesting. As Ed shared about the drones, and my gentleman here, David, shared about some of the other facial recognition sensors, department store sensors, the ability for them to read what's our music choice on our phone and start to play music that we like at Macy's and make me feel more relaxed, so I feel more like spending my money there. Not going to happen, David. But nice try. But what it does say is that there's an enormous tsunami of data that is potentially available to the first responders. The question is, for me, the question is, as an IT guy, right, who's going to analyze that data? How do I position that data to be analyzed, and how do I get it to be as close to real time as possible so that it can actually do the first responders some good? So if I put them in an Iron Man helmet with a display that's an augmented reality display, and I'm firing off data, is the data coming at them valid? Is the data accurate? Is the data actually going to be helpful to me, or is it going to create more options? And this is back to the discussion we had. Is it going to create too much of a checklist for me to work through in a time where I really don't have the brain power to do that anyway? Right? We talk a lot about fight or flight syndrome. And in IT, I can tell you the worst time to plan your disaster recovery, is while you're in it. Right? Why? Because even the smartest people on my team lose all of their ability to think when the blood flows out of their brains and into their extremities, so they can either duke it out with somebody or run away fast, right? So when you're under stress, you really don't have the faculties to do that. So if I had the data and I could present the data, oh my God, how difficult is it to make it simple and clean so that I can actually use the data, right? So that's one of the challenges of a potential solution. But the notion of using the drones to fly in to the building that's about to drop, The notion of, going back to my Star Trek days, right? Let's scan for life forms. Are there life forms here? Put it up on the screen, Scotty. Right? I just want to see if are there people left there that we could save? What's the risk of saving them? Let's get some drones in there and get some eyes on it. Oh, there's people moving. Let's get some drones in there with some comm gear on it so we can broadcast from control. Here are the instructions. So back to the discussion about the lady, right, that was issuing the comm distract. Just keep moving, don't look, right? We could do that through drones. We don't have to have a person there. We could do that same kind of broadcast, right, with a drone. The other thing that's, I think, interesting, and I think you mentioned it also, Dan, in your preamble, was the notion of having a predictive analysis of the structural integrity, right? So if I could put a drone in there and I could use enough sensors that were accurate again to say, I see this major beam that's weight supporting is about to fail because of the temperature, right? That could be good information that's simple and clear that I could relay to somebody on the ground that might be actually able to do something with that information, right? And I had just one other thought here, which is, we're rapidly exceeding our ability to process all this information, especially in the IoT world. And I was the co-chair of the IoT TAG event not too long ago, and I'll continue to do that for the next 4 or 5 years. So it's intensely interesting to me. If I had the data, and I had it partitioned correctly so that I could analyze it, do I analyze it with a simple rules engine? Do I analyze it with some type of advanced intelligence, artificial intelligence? Or do I move even that output as quickly as I can generate it to some experienced guys like Randall that have been there, done that a few times, and can kind of quickly move past the things that seemed obvious to the artificial intelligence but aren't and are real, right? Could I put a team of super experienced people in the control center that could quickly evaluate how do I use this information? So there's some solutions here to the core problem that kind of come from all over the room, and I really appreciate the opportunity to stand in here and participate with you guys to some degree and learn from you. It's really great. Paul, that's all I have.
Perfect.
Great.
Thank you.